was made by Director Washington, second by Director Webb. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. President Glennon and Director Walsh, are you guys on the phone? Guess we're going to wait a minute. Yeah, we gotta wait a minute for them.
Nice to see the audience. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome. President Glennon, Director Walsh, you guys on the phone? Yeah, I'm telling you. Oh, there you go. President Glennon, Director Walsh, is that you? Send the search party. Yep, that shouldn't have to close.
Hello, Al and I are back.
Welcome back. So we had a motion to come out of closed session at 6 p.m. by Director Washington, second by Director Webb. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 5-0. No more portable action. That's correct. Thank you. I now open the session. It's 6:03. We're now in open session. I now open the floor to public comment.
I have a question. Been listening to me, listen to you talk about reclaimed recycled water, whatever you want to go with it. I want to know why, or I'm asking why, at least why that water is not made available for construction uses. I understand I came from two communities that both have been using recycled water in their schools and their building since the 80s. And yet, there's no construction water available here as far as the recycle. I watched that people put in the subdivision to the west of the library years ago, middle of the drought, they said they ain't asking conserve water. They were running sprinklers over there 24/7, all weekend long. Water running everywhere. I'm asking as a ratepayer why it's not made available in Lancaster. They don't want it. They just put in more names on Avenue J, which moves over the street. Yeah. There's nothing here.
We will definitely get some information and get back to you on that.
I'm sorry.
We will get some more information and get back to you on that.
I mean, the hydrant right there in the plant. I understand there's place already in the ground.
Definitely something we'll get together, and General Manager Domingo will get back to you and give you some information.
What was your name again, just for the record? Hey,
Snyder.
Snyder. You have to speak up because I can't. Sorry, I can't hear you. Sorry about that. Dave's mad.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Now I'm going to close public comments. We're going to open up voluntary public roll call via teleconference. If you're on the phone and you want us to know you're there, please, this is the time to speak up.
Roseman News, John Joyce reporting. Hi.
Welcome, John. Anybody else? I'm going to close voluntary public roll call. Oh, welcome, Steve. Anybody else? All right, I'm going to close voluntary public roll call via teleconference. Welcome to the people on the phone. Consent calendar, CC1. The only one we have tonight is to receive the check and doctor registration dated April 18th through May 1st. And payroll direct deposit dated April 26th. Do I have a motion to approve CC1? Motion? Director Webb, do I have a second?
I'll second. CC1.
Second? Director Washington? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All opposed? Passes 5-0. All right. Minutes. We can do all these together, correct? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve M1, M2, M3, and M4?
Motion to approve M1 through M4.
Do I have a second?
I second that to approve M1 and M4.
Second by Director Webb. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Public hearing, PH1, annual budget adoption, presenter, district finance consultant, Dr. Brad Rothran.
Ben, you flattered me. Thank you.
What's the DR there? What does that stand for? Doctor. Wow.
It stands for doctor. Yeah.
It stands for professor.
Indeed. Moment of clarity in parliamentary procedure. Do we need to open the public hearing prior to the presentation, or do you want me to give the presentation first?
Open hearing.
Okay. So I am now opening the public hearing. We have to motion it, right? We have to motion to open the public hearing, correct?
Yes, you do. I make a motion we open PH1.
Second?
I'm second on that.
Second, Director Webb. All in favor say aye.
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 May I make a kind of motion to, let's do a roll call if we have folks that are on the phone conference.
Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Sure. So Director Greg Washington,
Yes.
Director Alfred Wallace,
Yeah.
Director Rick Webb,
Yes.
Vice President Ben Stewart,
Yes.
President Byron Glennon.
Yes.
Public hearing is now open. Presentation, District Staff, Dr. Brad Rothran.
Thank you, Ben, and other members of the board and staff, members of the public. Happy to be here tonight. The district is going into its third year of the 2021 rate study. The year-to-date analysis indicates that the district is operating well within the expectations of the rate study. The water and sewer budgets before you this evening are based primarily on that rate study. The streetlight budgets are based on the engineer's report, and the remaining budgets are based on a combination of trend analysis of prior year's actual activity and forecasts of future needs. In an effort to rebuild the reserves while continuing to have sufficient financial resources to carry out the programs and capital projects within the district, the rate study forecasted an approximate operating deficit of just approximately $700,000 for the fiscal year 23-24. One thing I didn't mention in the budget workshop last month is The rate study is now in its third year, and it was based on the best information we had at the time. That's normal. It's normal for budgets to change, and the approach is intended to smooth the impact of rate increases while simultaneously getting the district's reserves replenished over the 5-year period. I'm happy to report to you that the budget before you this evening for adoption is a balanced budget. It will not include the anticipated $700,000 operating deficit that we thought might be the case back in 2021. This is the result of better than expected year-to-date actuals in fiscal year 22-23 and subsequent carryover savings. For the fiscal year 23-24, the district proposes operating budget revenues of $13,750,768 and operating expenditures of $10,992,961 and proposes investing $3,062,235 into its reserves. Those of you who were paying attention at the budget workshop last month might recognize that those numbers have changed a little bit. And the reason that it's changed, we've added $75,000 to the operating budget for power at the wastewater treatment plant. Pursuant to discussions with staff, it came to our attention that the increased electricity costs are going to be a sustained cost and not a blurb. This was not part of our original analysis and was not part of the trend analysis. This is a new economic variable, and thanks to prudent staff oversight, we were able to catch that and add it into the operating budget. In addition to that, the amount of the capital project budgets have gone down in the water fund and up in the sewer fund because of a more thorough analysis of the prior year projects spent to date and what projects were going to be carried forward into the current fiscal year, which projects were not going to be carried forward, and which projects already had a sufficient funding source from a prior year. So that the investment into our reserves has increased by approximately $500,000 since the budget workshop. Also before you this evening is the capital budget for fiscal year 23-24. As a reminder, the district transitioned to what is known as a pay-go capital budget during the 2021 rate study. After preparing a thorough analysis of capital projects paid to date for fiscal year 22-23, the capital budget before you has included $296,581 for water projects and $1,626,581 for sewer projects. Some of the costs will be paid for from prior year savings, while the difference of the maximum amounts planned for the rate studies will be used to accelerate the funding of deficit reserves. This proposed budget will have the following impact on reserves. It will have a total increase to general fund reserves of $296,953. Total increase to the water fund reserves of $2,790,244. A decrease to the sewer fund reserves of $157,077. A total increase to the street lighting reserves of $14,765. And a total increase to the LLAD number 2 reserves, $117,350. As a reminder, a budget is a flexible document. It is meant to serve as a roadmap for the expected sources and uses of financial resources over the course of the fiscal year. It is based on the best, most current economic information available at that date. But, like any forecast, circumstances can change, and district staff will continue to monitor both the economic and legal landscapes. We will continue to practice conservative fiscal prudence, and will keep you informed of actual performance as the fiscal year unfolds. I thank you for the opportunity to present the fiscal year 23-24 operating and capital budgets. This concludes my part of the presentation, and at this time, I would be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Thank you, Dr. Reckbrand. Does anybody have any questions for Brad? Okay. Now it's time for receipt of public testimony. Does anybody have anything they would like to say? It's open to the public. Yeah. I think I should put my eyes on. That might be better. Yes.
It's currently posted on our website. And may I ask your name, please?
Thank you, Ms. Ash.
A.S. Is there an E? Thank you.
And late, the bigger heart, but see, water and food, and you put out our opposite tax. Prior to that, we had voted. And when we voted, I'm not talking about the letters that you sent out to people, because when you send those letters out, we all know that people are not going to vote. So when it was there and we went to the polls and we voted do not put it on paper. And then the board brought it up again. And we said, we voted on that. So when we were closed, you sent out those mail-in letters. And everybody knows when you send out stuff, people put the mail-in back to you. Everybody knows that you're not going to receive a percent. And out of all of the people here in Rosemont, I'm going to say, I don't even give the people that back then. So I think it was very unfair for you to wait and send something out when we had already seen it. Don't do it. We voted on it. So now it's back on our property tax. And I understand the reason why you put it back on there. But then that just gives you something extra to do in order to make sure that property owners, even though it's vacated, that's nothing for you to do. It's not to punish the people, punish us. And so many things that I feel and stand me as a resident of Rosemont for 30 plus years. Like this place is called, what is it? Well, Rcsd. The C stands for what? Community. What do you do for the community? We used to and do things for the community. But what have you done in recent times for the community? So that should read Rosemont Parish District. Take the community out because you're not doing nothing for the community. We used to go on trips. We used to walk at a Rosemont. Walking. We had many things. But now, we're still on there. But it doesn't reflect anything that you're doing other than going up in money. Going up. Giving out bonuses and raises and what have you. That's what you're doing. Okay.
Would you like to?
Work at Rosemont.
You are correct. May I ask your name for the record?
Never. The word never.
Okay.
Louis.
Lewis.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. We appreciate your comments.
Yes, ma'am. You want to say the same thing? Say it. You say it best. Make it. I don't want to ask you to
when you were talking about the walking groups we had, that's when we had a park side. A lot of the things you're talking about, that's when we had a park side. Can I finish, please? Just 1 minute. That's when we had the walking groups and all. That's when we had the park side. When there was no more money to fund the parks and rec side, we eliminated that. So maybe that's where some of that could have gone. Now, the point you brought up about the community, here's how I would ask the community. Now, I'm not going to bring up the time we were closed, but you can always come up here, speak to the GM, or speak to one of us, and tell us some of the things you would like. One of the things we do here in our community, we talk about amongst ourselves what we want, but we don't really have a central nucleus for it. But if those are things that perhaps we can help support, I don't think the board or the GM would say not a good idea, but I think saying what we don't have, maybe approach them to see what's the possibility of happening. Because I remember when we used to do those things, but that's when we had a defined group, the park and rec side, to address those. We don't have that anymore, but perhaps that's something that could also be brought back to life here.
Well, that's the part I don't understand. The community voted for a Rosemont Community Recreation District.
Yes, sir, they did. And they voted to not fund
Let me
it.
finish my story.
Okay.
Okay. That was one separate item on the ballot. The other item was to fund it.
Yes, sir.
I get it. They voted for it. How can you say that district does not exist anymore when the public, the voters in this community approved it? How do you say, we unvoted it for you? How does that work? Does that work the same way with the governor? I don't like him, so we got to unvote him. I don't get it. I've asked the question, I've never gotten an answer from anybody about why. Because this community is getting younger and younger and more children, and there's nothing here.
I have small children, and I agree with you.
One of the things I would say, we don't do parks and rec, we don't do. Well, then the county sure doesn't.
Well, I'm probably going to put my foot in my mouth, but I'm going to tell you my honest feelings on this. Is we have restricted funds. Our sewer stuff can only be spent on sewer things. Water can only be spent on water. Where does the money come from for parks if it's not voted yes?
I understand that, but I've also been told some stories about the vote and how it was approached by more than one, and some of them are long time residents here, that it was pretty much, we're going to put this out there, but we really didn't want it. We don't want to be bothered with it. That's what I was told by several people that have been here a long, I'm not talking about somebody who's been here 5, 6, 10 years. I'm talking about people who've been here a long time. And it wasn't handled up front like it should have been. And I realized also that the district did put up a lot of their own money, borrowed it internally to a lot of things. If they had, he also got it back. But the community lacks 18,000 people live here. How many of them are children? And it's just like what I brought up about the community pool. And I'm being taxed for it, other people aren't being taxed for it. If it was treated correctly and accounting made to do their job, that pool wouldn't have been in the mess it's in. It wouldn't be in the mess it was in. And yet nobody wants to ask the county and make the county toe the mark. And that's why I go to these meetings, to sit here and take the daylight out of me. I don't mind paying for something, but I also want to see it usable and the kids and adults in this community.
And we'll take care of it. But first of all, I do agree with you, and I will tell you something about the pool fiasco and the park and rec fiasco. The Kern County, with the pool there, at one point they just filled the pool in, and I guess they unfilled it. We've gone back and forth. And the dynamics about who pays for it, who doesn't pay for it. Here's what I would suggest if you their schedule permits. When the Roseland Municipal Advisory Council has their monthly meeting, go over there. They have
I've already been there.
no, let me just finish the thought, please, sir. They have a representative from Supervisor Scribner's office now. We can ask him to come down here because I would, as a resident, I'm not speaking as a board member, he doesn't give us service down here unless he's trying to get reelected. That's just the opinion I have. So when we come up here and we look at that pool area, we look at the park and recs, we go start looking at multiple pieces because a lot of folks here, going back to when the money wasn't funded, the district loaned money to help the pool go. They had a staff and all that. Then the district was facing kind of a bankruptcy issue because we're trying to fund something that had no money. So I would say there, if the community, if that's something that they want, they need to come here and bring those thoughts to us because you may bring it up and it's a valid point. People have little kids here, it's a valid point, but the other side of it, the one roadblock we always runs into, you have a group that says, let Roseman be like it used to be, which it will never be. And then we have Roseman trying to move forward, but in the middle, we've talked about this several times, we have that group that's in the middle. No one, people start talking about extra taxes, extra this, that, and the other. I can't spend your money for you, but I can tell you that we could probably collectively as a community do better. But I don't really know what better looks like because every time these numbers come up, be it the sewer fee and all that good stuff, the reason that I myself voted for the sewer fee to be on the property taxes because at one time all these homeowners had vacant properties. They didn't pay the sewer fees during that time. When they rent the house, they don't say, oh, by the way, for the last 6 months I've got rent, so I'm going to give you half of it. They just rent the house and go forward. But I mean, we were all subsidizing sewer fees for that group. They came in here, they called me names of the board members. I do not have the exact answer, but I do know one thing. Our community as a whole, we can do better. The whole community and the county. Look at the weeds. We can start with the weed problem we have here now growing all over the place. You know what the county's going to say? They're going to get to it. I have to threaten with the road, not to get a new road, to just get tar in the road. I have to threaten I'm going to call the newspaper. Now, you shouldn't live your lives that way, but that's the way they do. I don't have the answer, but I would make this suggestion. I'll make myself, and I'd have the GM and whatever other board member wants to be available. Let's come here one Saturday when we're not racing to get someplace else. Let's have a roundtable and discuss what the potentials are because it's obvious it's important to you folks. And I can't say good or bad or indifferent, but I know that we've seen a lot of this here and it's gone different directions. We can't hide behind no or yes or whatever. Let's all come in here in this room, put some paper up on the board and start making notes to see what we can push forward as a community.
I've been trying to get Marmac to show up to these meetings since January. I brought it up with the new group together when I asked the folks. And as you can see, they're not here.
Well, that's the only thing I can offer,
It's a
sir.
relationship with you, not with me. I'm at every one of the meetings, and every time I go to you know. I question all the board. And I send phone calls a week with her. Telling her sugar needs to do things. But I'm only one voice.
Absolutely.
And I'll hand it up and just like with the tax thing. And go, you know what? We set up with her. You know what? Get off the dime. Anyway. Well, I didn't need to go up on that.
You just up in the back.
My name is Yellow. I'm Tracy.
Yellow.
And I've been here for about every single great difference in everything since I moved here. Because back when I moved here in Rosemont, it was affordable. But now everything is just like it is everywhere. And another thing I cannot understand, we don't have access to the park. Nothing but, no, there's nothing going on that we can enjoy in the park anymore. But I'm still enjoying on my property tax. For that park. It's still on my property tax, and I don't understand it. Why I'm still paying tax. The park is still on my property tax. And I don't have, because the park is not even, large enough for us.
Jim Wolf for Parksville.
And I'm still paying tax for it. On my property tax. I don't understand. I'm still working out.
Yes,
I was there, they were replacing concrete, and she decided to buy it. So what will we do on it? There's the restrooms are all in there, and they HVAC compliant, everything. So that works.
had something else?
So,
Anybody?
yeah. I wanted to ask,
Yeah.
and I just wanted to elaborate on something. I just didn't know we did, then I'm trouble with 2005. And once again, I don't see home runs. I'm dissatisfied, I'm getting nice stuff. Every time I turn around, my nose is going up and up. Looking at it, and it's because of the water season and the grass season. I'm like, well, okay, man, it's just too much. I love it, talk to them sometimes. Definitely talk to them, the county. And I'm concerned. And then I walk in the community, I get out, I get all day, I'm walking, and I see the water cycle going on. And the weed is all in my cup. You know what I mean? And I don't think I touch it, and I'm trying to figure out why the water is so high. Then another concern, there's on the property, the second property over there, there's 55
It's ridiculous.
and there's a 55, and the people around me burn their dogs there, to keep here, right inside my home. And I brought it up once before, and I put a camera up there, and I told people, please stop doing that. There's some trash over there, all of that. Somebody got money making right there. You violate like that, you should be charged for that. That's the way people spend money and charge them or whatever we do, that should be protected for me. Because it's unethical for you to write your dog on your house down the street. You see in an empty lot that no one's paying attention to. But the people that live there should respect the law. That's one of my issues with the water and the weed from going, you walking, you take yourself for a walk. I can bring a bag of weed because I got it. But why somebody else? Why do I have to be bothered with somebody else? So that water from their house is taken to the park where I was taking place, or the empty lot where I was taking place. You know, it's bad. And once again, I didn't look from anything in the cut high, you know, but I have never seen it this bad before. And that's why I'm here. I want to know what's going on. Where's my money going? You saying truck, electric tax, property tax, water tax. Why are we not getting a big pushing on these things that are paying these items in our community? You know, why is the water running and leaking everywhere? And water prices are still running. Why is someone cutting the grass on the walk where every walking by the park? You know, why does it look like the green stuff? Because of the water constantly running and no one takes care of it. We take care of the house. I remember back in the day, we would have people out there with little trucks from the road cutting the grass and taking care of the grass. It's out of control. You know, and we keep doing it. It's out of control, but we still want to go back. My house goes, I mean, it's a lot now. You know, I don't, once again, I'm like this man. I don't mind paying. It's good needs. Don't use what I'm paying for. Let me be a part of it. And once again, I was trying not to miss my money. You know, I want to be a part of this community and making it better. You know, because I know grandkids that's growing up in this community now. So, you know, so I just ask them, let's do something about it. We don't have to and a lot of times, just like let's say, a lot of people ain't gonna show. We don't know about the disease. I haven't gotten a letter. If it wasn't so, I had a lady call me and say, we don't have a meeting like that. All my meetings there. Most of the time I'm working. But we just don't get proper notification. I know that goes on right. It's posted. A lot of those things that you're saying is posted online. You just have to go online. We don't know about that. We didn't know about it. We don't know. Now it's on our radar.
Yeah. Second and fourth Wednesday every month. I look forward to having ladies here, voicing your concerns. Public servant. I totally get what you guys are saying. Anybody else have anything? Okay.
Don't want
skate park where the school office, the district office is at. We had a skate park there, and when they decided they were going to build out there, we had to move it, and we did not have a follow-up suitable location. Here's what I would ask everyone.
I'm sorry, can I interject, because I actually do know about some of these projects. So there is a skate park actually planned for Glendower Park. Yes, there is. And I'd be happy to share the contact person's information with you. Most of the complaints that you have, in fact, 99% of complaints that you all have, are with the county. It really is the county. Right. We're absolutely happy to entertain your concerns and gripes and try to point you to the proper people that you need to contact. But
I agree with you.
I agree with you. I used to work there, so I know the people that are there. I know the people that are working on the people that you can contact to answer your specific questions. So I am here Monday through Thursday, or you can call me call me at any time. I'll be happy to share that contact information for you.
Tell me your name.
My name is Kim Domingo. I'm the new general manager.
Very, very, very.
Thank you.
Welcome.
That's true. That's your other form. Honestly, if you want to contact people, you can come see me.
Okay. If there's nothing else, I'd like to close the public hearing and move on to PH1B, adopt resolution 2023-2.
Do I have a motion? Make a motion to approve the resolution 2023-2.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Director Washington. Roll call vote.
Director Greg Washington.
Yes.
Director Alfred Wallace.
Yes.
Director Rick Webb.
Yes.
Vice President Ben Stewart.
Yes.
President Myron Glennon.
Yes.
Motion passed 5-0, all ayes.
Moving on to new business. MB1, approve agreement and first task order with Canon Corporation for biosolids disposal. Analysis report, presenter, GM Domingo.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we have a biosolids accumulation issue at the wastewater plant, and that is in the old oxidation ponds, which we are no longer using. Part of the waste discharge requirements was to have a plan for what we were going to do, how we were going to dispose of those accumulated biosolids, because we cannot keep them on the site. In the past, there's been some investigations to some of the options, but nothing really fleshed out. What this agreement is with the consultant, Canon Corporation, the consultant that I have worked with over the past, and they're going to put together an analysis report because we need to understand our options and then the cost for each option. But somehow, some way, we need at some point to dispose of or to house our biosolids in accordance with regulations. So we have already incorporated the agreement into our work plan that we've submitted to Lahan. So I'm asking, or the recommendation is to approve a master services agreement. What this does is it allows us to then issue task orders coming back to you as a board to approve. But the first task order is for this effort is to put together a plan, an analysis report, so that we have alternatives we can consider, because we're going to have to consider it not just the actual plan, but also how much it's going to cost. So the recommendation is to approve.
So is this the one that Ryan spoke about, the accumulation from last
Yep.
meeting,
Yep.
the wet, dry out there.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve NB1?
I make a motion that we approve NB1.
Second.
1 second. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I motion to approve NB1 as presented by the chair.
Second, Director Webb. Motion was by Director Washington, second by Director Webb. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes.
What's the roll call? It's difficult to hear.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Sounds.
Okay.
And let's, do you want to do it on that one, or do you want to keep going forward from this point
If
on?
you don't mind, let's just do roll call.
Okay. Can we do a roll call vote for NB1?
Director Greg Washington?
Yes.
Director Alfred Wallace? Director Rick Webb?
Yes.
Vice President Ben Stewart?
Yes.
President Byron Glennon?
Yes.
Thank you. We do have the 5-0.
Thank you. NB2, approval of resolution 2023-6, adopting the California Uniform Public Construction Cost Accounting Procedures for their Jim Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our current procurement policy follows public contract code, and what that requires is any construction project over at $25,000 or over requires a full bid. When this legislation was passed, which was back in 1983, it was very common for in-house personnel to do a project in-house because obviously the implication was that the cost of doing it in-house was less than going out to a contract. The contractors complained about this to the legislation, saying, "Well, the cities and the public agencies aren't including the labor. The labor really should be a part of that cost." So this act was set in place so that there was a uniform way to establish what a capital project, construction project would cost, whether it's done by contractors or it's done by in-house labor. So that's kind of the framework. It's really an accounting practice. And what it does is it takes if we do it in-house, if an agency does it in-house, the labor plus any overhead plus all the fringes is included as part of the cost. So there's a apples to apples comparison. What this also does is it gives us a little more flexibility as to what we have to bid out and when we can do informal bid, which isn't part of public contract code. So bottom line is, instead of a $25,000 limit, the limit now becomes $60,000. So in essence, if we have a $50,000 construction project, if we adopt PEPCA, then we can go directly to a contractor, just arrange a quote and go directly to a contractor. There's also an informal bid process up to $200,000, so you don't have to, public contract code, you have to advertise in the newspaper or trade journal. But in PEPCA, under the informal bid process, you have a $2,000 limit. You can go straight to trade journals. You don't have to advertise in the paper. Anything over that is just regular. It's a regular public contract code bid, advertised bid. So when I arrived, this is something that the county had adopted, provided a lot of flexibility for it to try to get projects let and executed. And I thought it would be very beneficial for the district to also adopt this. I talked to our finance consultant to verify that we do meet the accounting practices that are required as part of the adoption of this act. So, and he confirmed that. So, my recommendation is that you adopt it. And what will happen is we will send notification to the state controller. So the state controller, there's a commission that actually keeps track to make sure that you're following the rules. So we'll send it to the state controller, and then we will also come back and we're going to adopt an informal bid procedure and make that part of our policy. So for now, you approve the resolution, we can forward that to the state controller.
Do I have a motion to approve NB2?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
I'll second it.
Motion was made by Director Webb, second by Director Washington. Roll call vote.
Director Greg Washington.
Yes.
Director Alfred Wallace.
Yes.
Director Rick Webb.
Yes.
Vice President Ben Stewart.
Yes.
President Byron Glennon.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 5-0, all ayes.
All right. Moving on. MB3, adoption of Administrative Handbook Policy 7010, the nonprofit activity on district property. Presenter, Tim DeBingo.
Thank you, Mr. President. In your packet is a proposed policy for nonprofit activity on district property. I was approached by a nonprofit that wanted to have an activity here, and I looked through the district policy, and there was no policy in place to identify, for example, what conditions are is the facility can be under what conditions can it be used, what insurances need to be in place. So none of that was in place. So this kind of clarifies. This does clarify what's required, who's eligible. It has to be a nonprofit as defined in 501 IRS code 501C, or a nonprofit organization that administers a shared utility. So those two types of entities can use it because the intent is you don't want anybody for profit using the district's facilities. So we're limiting it to those nonprofits, and then also identifies who can set the terms of use, which would be me or somebody that I designate, and then also identifies very clearly what the liability coverage needs to be, so that the district. Hello? Hello? Yeah, I can hear you. Oh, no, we didn't lose it. You didn't lose Steve. You lost them, though. I did.
Hey, can you hear me now?
And is everybody back?
Yeah. I don't know how we're so can you do a Reader's Digest version of
Yes, sorry.
MB3 again?
Start over. So we don't have a policy for nonprofit use. This establishes a policy so that insurance requirements can be placed, and it defines what a nonprofit is. So no for-profit use of district facilities. This is a policy that's not in place right now. I recommend that you adopt the policy, and the first customer is going to be the Red Cross for a blood drive.
Do I have a motion to approve MB3?
Motion to approve MB3 adoption of Administrative Handbook Policy 70.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Second, Director Webb. Roll call vote.
Director Greg Washington.
Yes.
Director Alfred Wallace.
Yes.
Director Rick Webb.
Yes.
Vice President Ben Stewart.
Yes.
President Byron Glennon.
Yes.
Motion passed 5-0, all ayes.
Thank you. MB4, approve First Amendment to Agreement and Work Order 2023-1 with the NBS Government Finance Group for Water and Sewer Tax Roll Services. Presenter, Domingo.
Thank you, Mr. President. This action is to reauthorize NBS Government Finance Group, who does our assessment districts, and this one is specifically for water and sewer tax roll services. The amendment will extend their agreement to July 9, 2025, and then the first work order, or the next work order, which is 2023-1, is for the tax roll billing for the water and sewer charges. I recommend that you approve.
Do I have a motion to approve MB4?
Motion to approve the amendment for work order number 2301.
Do I have a second?
Washington,
Yes.
Director Alfred Wallace,
Yes.
Director Rick Webb,
Yes.
Vice President Ben Stewart,
Yes.
President Byron Glennon.
Yes.
Motion passed by 0, all ayes.
NB5, adoption of amendment to employee handbook, compensation policy exempts employees not under employment agreement. President Canavino.
Thank you, Mr. President, or Mr. Vice President. So on April 24th, the policy committee met to discuss a proposed policy change that would provide compensation increases to exempt employees not under an employment agreement. The compensation and classification study that resulted in a side letter agreement with the union providing a 4% increase retroactive to July 1st, 2022, and a 2% increase on July 1st, 2023, does not include a similar increase for exempt employees. Historically, not providing the same increases to both employee classifications has led to wage compaction issues as well as the sense of inequality between the employee classes. Policy committee received input from the previous general manager and former director, who indicated that it was the board's intention to create a Me Too policy as it relates to compensation increases for exempt and non-exempt employees. The adoption of the policy would mitigate wage compaction and equality issues. While it may have been the board's intention in the past, the requisite policy was not adopted. Therefore, it is your board's discretion whether to adopt this policy retroactive to the adoption of the side letter agreement. So this was an item that essentially was trying to figure out what the board's intent was back in the past when the side letter agreement was approved, and I'm bringing this to you for action.
Motion approved NB5.
So are we doing it for 2 separate periods or the 1 period? Because you brought up 2. You brought up 4.
So the policy, the actual verbiage of the policy is in the packet, and it's entitled "Compensation Exempt Employees Not Under an Employment Agreement." And I'll just read it. In order to address potential wage compaction issues and to treat all employee classifications equally, the board of directors has determined that percent-based wage increases granted to represented employees will also be granted to exempt employees not under an employment agreement. In the event that the board of directors grants a percent-based wage increase to exempt staff not under an employment agreement, independent of the represented employees, the represented employees will also be granted the same percent-based increase. So that's one gets one, then the other gets the Me Too. This policy is effective retroactively to July 1st, 2022, when a compensation and classification study resulted in a side letter agreement executed on December 13th, 2022, providing a 4% increase to represented employees retroactive to July 1st, 2022. So if you adopt it, it's retroactive to July 1st of last year, and then it also confirms the 2% that would be due on July 1st of this year.
So in layman's terms, it's if we give the represented employee a cost of living increase, it goes also to the unrepresented employee.
Correct.
Which means that if we didn't do this, at some point, the represented employee could be making more money than the management admin staff.
Absolutely.
Understandable.
And this cleans it up so that in the future, it's implied, it's there, we don't have to go back to this again.
Yes, so basically the language is there that says whatever you give one, you get the other. And again, I want to emphasize this is exempt employees, not under, so basically not your general manager. Your general manager is separate from that.
Yeah, gotcha. I'll make a motion to approve MB5 for the amendment to the employee handbook.
Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Second, Director Washington, roll call vote.
Director Rick Washington,
Yes.
Director Alfred Wallace,
Yes.
Director Rick Webb,
Yes.
Vice President Ben Stewart,
Yes.
President Byron Glennon.
Yes.
Motion passed by 0, all ayes.
Thank you. NB6, approved Fourth Amendment to the employment agreement with Steve Perez, presenter. And Domingo.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. So this, because you just took the action on the policy for exempt employees not under employment agreement, if the intent was to also provide the same increase to your general manager at the time, then it now needs to be done under amendment. So the amendment that's there before you basically provides the same, the retroactive increase that would have happened July 1st, 2022. 4%.
I have a motion to approve MB6.
Motion to approve the amendment to the employment agreement.
I have a second. I'll second. Do roll call vote, please.
Director Greg Washington,
Yes.
Director Alfred Wallace,
He just stepped out, so abstain.
okay? Director Rick Webb,
Yes.
Vice President Ben Stewart,
Yes.
President Byron Glennon.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries 4-0, 1 abstention.
Okay. MB7, approval of resolution number 2023 adopting and initiating proceedings for the levy and collection of assessments for landscape lighting assessment district number 2 for the fiscal year 2023-2024. Presenter, Director of Administration, Sherry Tim.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. So a little background, the LLAD, or the Landscape and Lighting Assessment District number 2, was formed pursuant to the Landscaping and Lighting Act of 1992. The district is divided among 51 zones with assessments involving 3,953 parcels. Revenues from the assessments are utilized for ongoing operation, maintenance, and servicing of street lighting improvements. Every year, the maximum assessment rate is increased by the Consumer Price Index, but the actual assessment levies are based on the actual costs incurred to maintain the street lighting improvement of the district up to the maximum assessment rate. Sets the assessment procedure in action for the fiscal year 2023-24 tax roll. The resolution of intention will preliminarily approve the engineer's report and set a time and place for the public hearing. After public input on the date of the public hearing, the Board of Directors may then adopt a resolution confirming the assessments and ordering the levy of assessments in the district. The attached resolutions are required by California Streets and Highway Code, Section 22622. And just for your information, the public hearing is scheduled for May 24th. There's no cost attributed by this action. There is no budgetary impact unless the attached resolutions and the following resolutions from the public hearing are not passed. This would impair the ability of the CSC to collect the assessments needed to pay the district expenses, and the general fund would be used to fund the district expenses. Staff recommends that the Board of Directors by motion approve and adopt the following resolutions related to the maintenance of public improvements in the district for the fiscal year 2023-2024 tax roll.
Do you have a motion to approve MB7?
Motion to approve.
I'll second. Second, Director Washington. Roll call vote.
Director Greg Washington.
Yes.
Director Alfred Wallace.
Abstain.
Director Rick Webb.
Yes.
Vice President Ben Stewart.
Yes.
President Byron Glennon.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion approved 4-0 with 1 abstention by Director Wallace.
Okay. Last but not least, NB8. Approval of the resolution 2023-4 adopting, declaring Roseman Community Service District intention to levy and collect assessments for landscape and lighting district assessment district number 2 for fiscal year 2023-2024. Presenter, Director of Administration, Sherry Tim.
So it falls with the same staff report that I just shared with you. One is the assessment for the actual initiation. So your resolution 2023-3 was for the initiation, and the resolution 2023-4 is for the intention to collect
the assessment via levy.
Do I have a motion to approve NB8?
Motion approved NB8.
Motion made by Director Washington. Do I have a second?
Director Webb, sir.
Second, Director Webb. Roll call vote.
Director Greg Washington,
Yes.
Director Alfred Wallace,
Abstain?
Director Rick Webb,
Yes.
Vice President Ben Stewart,
Yes.
President Byron Glennon.
Yes.
Motion passed 4-0 with one abstention, Director Wallace.
Thank you. We on presentation.
Ben, whenever there's more than 2 new businesses, I'm always going to be out of town.
Really appreciate that. I did not know you were going to be out of town about 2 minutes before the meeting started. Presentations, PR1, Water Reclamation Plant Project Update.
Out of the wastewater treatment plant, since the last time we spoke, there hasn't been a lot of movement moving forward. They're waiting on some final dress up. The construction as a whole is pretty much complete. At this point, there's one big item that we discussed in the past that will be coming. Besides that, there's just some final tie-ups of raising manholes to level, things of that nature. But the majority of the construction is complete. As far as staff report out the wastewater treatment plant, the last 2 weeks, the staff has been performing standard maintenance on all the equipment, sampling for the Wahatan board, providing updates for the board, as well as driving the outlying areas, checking sewer manholes, and really focusing on optimizing and running the plant efficiently. As of tonight, that's all I have. An update.
Brian, good evening, sir. How are you?
Good. How are you?
You didn't talk about the bus. We're good on that.
I had a whole presentation I was gonna do for you guys tonight, but this is a longer board meeting than usual. I'll do it for another time.
So, you remember back when we had the consultants in here about you guys getting the plant done and all those things came up? You know, back when they were saying what did it? Yes.
Yes.
So, I'm looking at the timeline, what they promised and what they didn't promise. We're over 10 months. And the reason I'm saying that, I'm giving you guys props for staying on top of them, but I'm going to tell the other board members, I'll ask the GM and the community, we have to stop letting people punk our community. These contractors came out here and they made all these promises. And see this guy right here, his efforts got our plant together quicker, sooner than later. But people have a tendency to want to beat up on the little kid. You folks have a world-class treatment plant out there, and we literally had to get in their chest to get it done. And that shouldn't happen anymore because they're good people at this district here. So we shouldn't let the people who think they know more than us. And that's just because you folks haven't been here for a minute. I'll just give you a little background. We have a plant that's coming online. That plant will not be second place to nobody in this country, probably for the size. Not the big guys, for the size. But we literally had to call them out, get them to do their job. And I hope that never happens again, Ryan. I'm telling you in front of guests now. Thank you very much for your diligence here.
I appreciate it. And I won't even begin to make you a estimated promise of when all T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, but
thank you.
Hope sometime soon.
Thank you for the effort, though.
No questions?
Thank you, Ryan. Director's reports, comments for future agenda items. I will start with the sir on the phone, President Byron Glennon.
Just like I said, if there's more than 2 new business items, you can count on me being gone.
I'll come knock on your door.
You might be out of line.
Just to let you know, Al stepped out. His son-in-law is having heart surgery, and he just got a call, so he went out to see what they wanted to talk to him about.
All right, understandable. Director Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I have 2 items I want to talk about, but after seeing this group of residents out here, I think I'm going to add a third. But let me start with earlier this month, I got a chance to attend the State Water Resources Control Board
Drinking Water Operator Certification Program Advisory Committee meeting in San Diego. That's a mouthful, huh? On the agenda was the new recycled advanced water treatment operator certification requirements and operator and training experience needed for these certifications. This is a fairly new certification as California is now aggressively recycling water, and this skill set is now being needed. I also want to go back to last month's RMAC meeting that I attended along with Director Wallace. The night's guest speaker was a rep from the AV Memorial Wall Committee, who was trying to bring a half-scale replica of the Vietnam Memorial Wall to Rosamond for Veteran Weekend in November. What really struck me in this presentation was that currently there are 1,896 veterans living here in Rosamond. That's 9% of the community, 3 times the national index. Personally, I didn't know I lived around so many heroes. So I want to take this time to revisit this meeting in the event someone wasn't aware of their attempts to bring something much deserving to this town. This committee will need volunteers and sponsors to make this a most memorable occasion during Veterans Day weekend. Maybe we can have Jack Miller, Rosamond's Chamber VP, to give us a quick update at a future Rcsd meeting as to where they are with that. My third topic, I want to thank the community for coming out and your comments. Boy, Ms. Lewis, you hit everything on my checklist. Just personally, some of the things we talked about, the RCD issue, Kern County issue, and the school district when we talk about United Park. Personally, the weeds and embarrassing.
Did I get lost? Is somebody out there?
I'm here.
Who are you?
I think the meeting was put.
We got shut off, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll call back.
Yeah, it sounds like they lost connection again.
John,
Good enough.
John, where do you draw the line between the cost of something and the principle?
Oh my gosh, I don't have enough time.
You know what I'm saying? In other words, how strong are your principles in relationship to what it's going to cost you?
I think that is something that is analyzed on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, something I can ask you, John, is how robust do you think they are going to be getting in regards to PFAS? I know that was a real hot ticket item back in 2019 before the pandemic hit. And been reading a lot in the papers and stuff like that it's kind of starting to rev its engine again. And I'm just wondering how far do you think in your circles that they're going to go with this?
So I missed the critical word there that you said they were. I know everything around the actual topic because you broke up there for just a second. So what is this in reference to again?
PFAS and PFOA. PFAL.
I don't know the answer to that question.
There's still just this. I'm at Aqua in Monterey, and I've heard it talked a couple times in conferences, and it appears they're moving forward with it.
Well, I know that they've identified 6 agents that they're kind of focusing on out of the over 5,000. But the concerning part is that
California is getting some of the strictest. I think they were going as low as 3 parts per trillion. And when the last time that we talked about it, and we were looking at the GAC, that's when they were talking about 30 to 50 parts per trillion, and it's kind of like, gosh, you're looking at some legislation that has the potential to bankrupt every community that has to deal with it.
And the science behind it is very questionable. There's PFOBs in everything,
Yes, it is. And it's been around since 1950.
Yeah, and just like there's arsenic in period in the ground, and it's not anything that man is adding per se, unless it's some kind of a manufacturing area. But no,
right.
I've heard it mentioned at least 3 times, and just moved right on over it. Never really talked about it or discussed it this week.
Yeah, it's. I think the thing that bothers me the most, Byron, is I think for you guys, because it's not a we anymore, but you guys are going to be dealing with the ramifications of wastewater.
Yeah. Hey, did Spencer get back with you on solar?
Yes, he did, and we were talking, and we're looking at different things. And did he come and see you?
No, he didn't. So keep bugging him, remind him.
Okay, because I told him at my kitchen table, I said, when you leave here, you got to go talk to Byron.
Yeah.
And so he said, he goes, I'll make a note of that. I can walk to Byron's house from my house. So I said, okay, well, make sure you go over there.
Yeah, he has the house by me that he rents. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah. I guess we're going to give up on him, huh?
I'm going to try calling back in. I think that's the only thing I can do at this point.
Okay, maybe I'll try that too.
Okay.
All right.
Good talking to you all. Yeah, good talking to you as well. We'll talk to you soon, hopefully.
All right.